Welcome to Health with Hashimoto's, a podcast for you if you are diagnosed with Hashimoto's, wondering if you might have thyroid problems, or you're at risk for this autoimmune issue because of genetics. Exhausted and overwhelmed, you long to feel like yourself again, but you don't know where to start. Welcome to the Exhausted Mom's Path to Whole Health. Hi, I'm Esther. I am a registered nurse, and after 17 years in emergency departments around the country, I grew fed up by the system that only looks at symptoms and slaps short-term band-aids on problems instead of helping people truly discover how to reclaim their health. I went back to school for holistic health, and I am here to help you discover your next step on your journey to whole health. Whole health is made up of body, mind, spirit, diet, and environment. Changes can be made in any of these areas to help you create better health. Each episode of this podcast will provide simple and true tips so that you can take action immediately. Let's dive into today's topic. Are there medications you can take for hypothyroid and Hashimoto's? Yes, there definitely are. So in the last episode, I talked to you about the root causes of autoimmune issues and Hashimoto's specifically. I mentioned that there's three things that every autoimmune condition has, and that is a genetic component, a gut component, and a trigger. And then we talked about different things you can do to help those specific things. And we're going to get into deeper aspects of that in the future. But what about medications? There are definitely medications for hypothyroid and Hashimoto's. And that is because if you remember from the episode where I talked to you about your lab values and how your thyroid works, every single cell needs thyroid. So if your thyroid is not working, you have to have that. And those are in the form of medications. Some people have asked me, Esther, are you just for holistic things? Are you just going to talk to me about supplements and essential oils and diet and stuff? No, I am not. I am a registered nurse. I know that there are absolutely fabulous things about medicine in general. I know that there are many, many helpful things, and I do not shun Western medicine just because I think that we need to look at root causes. We absolutely need to look at root causes, but we also need to be able to use the resources at our fingertips and within our pharmacies to help ourselves. I'm not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater. So, what medications can you take for hypothyroid and Hashimoto's? It's a good question. And this is one where you need to talk to your doctor or another prescribing person, nurse practitioner, or whoever you go to. This has to be controlled by a medical professional, and they need to monitor your lab work because your thyroid, when it's working well, is constantly responding to the signals from the rest of your body, from your cells. Well, if your thyroid isn't working, it can't respond to those signals. Therefore, your pharmacist and your doctor are going to have to respond to those signals for you. They're going to have to adjust your dosing. So please work with your doctor or other healthcare professional to make sure that you are on the right medications. Now, of course, we absolutely need to still keep addressing root cause, because if you don't address the mixed up immune system that's attacking your thyroid, it's going to keep on doing damage. When you address all of those root causes, there have been people who have found that their thyroid is healing because it's not under attack anymore. That is not saying that you can just stop your medications because you're addressing the root cause. You have to be in communication with your prescribing professional. Have a good relationship. I consider myself the CEO of my own healthcare. I'm in charge. The doctor that I see and the chiropractor that I see, they are on my team, on my board of consultants, maybe you want to say, but they don't control my healthcare, but they are vital members of my advisory. So absolutely keep getting your blood work done, keep taking your medications, don't stop them unless your doctor is like, hey, let's reduce your dose. One of my friends, after she started activating her own pathways, she noticed that it was almost like she was over medicated. Her medications had not changed, but the attack on her thyroid it must have changed. Her immune system must have been able to calm down a little bit. And she needed to go to her doctor and say, hey, I feel like I'm over medicated. Can we recheck my labs? Can we adjust my medications? So I am not negating the fact that your body is powerful. Your body can heal. I am also definitely not saying that it's a sure bet. Just because you're activating your own pathways and you're plugging all of the holes with your micronutrients does not mean you can just stop your medications. Please hear me loud and clear. Every single cell in your body needs thyroid hormone. If your thyroid is not making T4, then it cannot convert to T3, which is the active form that every single cell needs. And so you have to take a medication because every single cell in your body needs that spark plug to run. So let's talk about the medications specifically. And I am very grateful for all of the people who answered my question on Facebook. I'm also always on Instagram if you want to ask me any questions or anything. But I asked, what questions do you have about medications? So I'm going to answer all of those questions in the following segment. I talked to you that your thyroid produces T4. That's the inactive form of thyroid. The most common medicine for hypothyroid or Hashimoto's is levothyroxine. The brand names are Synthroid, Levoxyl, Tirosint, and Unithroid. Those are the most common ones. When I was working in the emergency department, I saw people come through all the time on levothyroxine and Synthroid. Those are the two most common forms that I saw as a nurse. And I will say up front that it is also the number one medication. I heard patients tell me that they had to stay on the exact same brand. They could not switch around brands. Every once in a while, their pharmacist would tell them that they had a different brand come in and it's a different price. So could they please switch? And this is the number one medication where if people switched brands, they would have a different response in their body. So it's very brand specific. I don't know why. The pharmacists don't always know why. We just know it is. Levothyroxine or Synthroid is T4. That's what your thyroid would make if it was functioning well. In your body, the T4 then will switch to T3, and that's the form that your cells can take. If that switch is not happening well, if you're taking your thyroid medication, your T4, but it's not converting to T3 in your body, then you also need to have a T3 as part of your medication regime. Now, the problem with T3 is it gives you more energy and it speeds up your metabolism because that's what your thyroid does. Back, I think it was in the 80s, maybe the 70s, I'm not quite sure when, people were using T3 as a diet medication. And they were using it off-label, and then they were getting sick because they were inducing this hyperthyroid state. Your thyroid is very, very specifically regulated in your body. You can't just take extra because you want to boost your metabolism or you want to lose weight. That's not safe. And so when people were doing that, then T3 itself got a bad rap because people were getting sick. They were getting sick because they were not using it correctly. But as a result, T3 itself got a bad rap, and not all doctors prescribe T3 just because of that stigma and because they didn't go back and say, hey, wait a minute, why is this stigma there? If the doctor goes back and looks at it, they will realize that your T4 from your thyroid needs to convert to T3. And if that's not happening, then you also need medication for your T3. Now, again, I am a nurse. I am not your doctor. I'm not a doctor. I am not a pharmacist. I am not prescribing. I am telling you how things work in your body. And you get to talk to your doctor or your prescribing person to get your specific plan. So T3, the different brands and forms, they're a bit longer to say. T3 is triiodothyronine. That's a really long word. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. And some brand names are liothyronine, cytomel, and triostat. Some of the questions I got were, can I take this at night? Can I take T3 at night? Now you can take your T4 anytime in the day. It just has to stay the same time every single day. Your T4, that levothyroxine or Synthroid, it takes a while to build up in the body, and its half-life, or how long it's active in your body, it's very long. But you have to take it at the same time every day. Most people will take their T4 in the morning because you're supposed to take it on an empty stomach, and that's when you have an empty stomach. The T3, you also need to take at the same time every day, and that one you do need to take in the morning or during the day, because T3, again, is the active form of thyroid. It's the form that every cell uses. And so to have that energy, to have your cells working, to have your metabolism going during the day when you want it to be going, you need to take your T3 during the day. T3 is very short acting. Some people, again, work with your pharmacist and your doctor, but some people need to take T3 multiple times a day. Figure out what works for you. But T3 you do not want to take at night. Then there's the combination T4, T3. The most common form of this is Armour. It also goes by NDT, or natural desiccated thyroid. It's also called pig or porcine thyroid and thyroid extract. And I am really grateful for the people who have gone before us and have figured this out, because your body needs T4 and T3. So if you're not doing it yourself, if your thyroid gland isn't doing it, and if the T4 isn't converting to T3, I am so grateful that we have a medication that we can take to help us out. Again, you do need to take this at the same time every day. And because it has T4 in it, it is supposed to be taken on an empty stomach. Now, let me talk a little bit more about that empty stomach issue. You take it with water. You cannot take your T4 with coffee. I know a lot of people will take their coffee right in the morning with their medications, and they'll still have an empty stomach. However, the coffee and the caffeine in the coffee interfere with the absorption. Other things that interfere with the absorption are things that contain calcium, iron, some amino acids called tyrosine, and some other medications. And so take your medication in the morning on an empty stomach with a large glass of water. Most people can wait about 10 to 30 minutes and then eat breakfast. So if you keep a big glass of water on your bedside stand, which I recommend anyway, because it's great to start your day with a big glass of water, keep that on the bedside stand with your medication. And then first thing in the morning, you can take that medication, drink a big glass of water, and proceed with getting dressed and brushing your teeth and doing all of your toiletry stuff. And by that time, hopefully, you can eat your breakfast without a problem. That is all of the questions that I received. If this is helpful for you, please share this podcast. Unfortunately, we know that hypothyroid is very, very common in women, especially women in middle age and older. And of those people who have thyroid problems, about 90% are caused by Hashimoto's, or the immune system going haywire. So I guarantee you have some friends who might not have told you, hey, I have Hashimoto's, or hey, I have thyroid problems, but they are struggling. So please share this podcast so that the word can get out, so that women can find the help that they need and move forward on a path to health with Hashimoto's. Hey friend, I hope you loved today's episode. If you want to continue on a path to health, come join my program, Abundant Energy for the Weary Mom, where you will cut through the overwhelming information and follow a simple and sustainable path toward health. With support and encouragement, you will work in a strategic order to gain fast results that stick, so that you can experience each day fully and make a positive impact on your family and everyone you encounter. Please help others find this show by rating and reviewing it in your podcast app, or by sharing a screenshot of today's episode in your social media stories. Be sure to tag me on Instagram. You can find me at EstherY.RN. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Please be sure to discuss any concerns and plans with your trusted healthcare professional.